Welcome back to another episode of Uploaded and Unfiltered, the podcast in which I, your host, Jermaine, talks about the mindset that it takes to be a content creator in today's day and age. Today, I got a special episode. I'm going to be talking about something that crossed my mind earlier this week, or earlier last week, since it's Monday, and just wanted to share my thoughts on it, get some juices flowing, have you thinking the same way I'm thinking, and maybe you have something to offer. If you do, there should be a link in this description of this podcast. You can send a message or a voice message, and I will answer it, listen to it on air, unless it's like some crazy shit that we'll do it off air. But other than that, settle in. This is going to be informative. This is going to be fun. I'm going to be talking about the idea of what is normal and why we stay in situations that are not feeding our soul, that are not what we ultimately want to do in life. So sit back, relax, let's get it started. So again, I was thinking last week, I was like, most people wake up one day and just realize they've been living someone else's life and can't pinpoint exactly when that happened. And what I mean by that is the path they choose, the thinking when it comes to retirement, when it comes to starting a family, when it comes to living in certain situations. I feel like there's been a lot of things have been fed to us, and they are not original thoughts of ours, because the norm isn't neutral. It was built by systems, institutions, and other people's comfort zones. Like, the difference between choosing that traditional path and defaulting to that traditional path without thinking is massive. And I think a lot of people default to it without actually choosing that path. You're told that once you get out of high school, you got to go to college. Once you get out of college, you got to get a good paying job. Once you get a good paying job, you got to find a family. You got to find somebody to marry. And then when you get married, you got to have kids. You got to have a good house. You got to have all this shit that was fed to us. And there's so many different ways to live life. There's so many different ways to experience things here on earth. And I want to explore some of that. I want to explore that defaulting to one specific path without actually thinking about other ones. So I was that guy. I was the one starting off on that traditional path. I was really good in high school. I was top 10 in my class. And it wasn't by me trying. It was just, I heard this was the instructions and this is what I needed to do. And I was a child and I wasn't thinking, what does my life instructions look like? I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to live life. And I had the blinders on. Now, even then, I questioned a lot of things growing up in my youth, especially religion was one that I questioned heavily. But when it came to school, work, family life, job, there was little questioning in there. And I don't regret anything. I would be interesting to see what my life would be like if I had my mindset that I have now back when I was 18. I can't even imagine. I would definitely own like half of the United States. Like, it'd be crazy. That's all I'm saying. But what broke me from that norm path and I remember the exact moment. It was a combination of things, but it was my last job, which I still haven't mentioned, and I don't plan on doing so now. But I was a manager. I had a very high position. People looked at me. I was well regarded by my peers. For management, like all those CEOs and CFOs, all those people loved me. Like, in anybody else's story, I made it. I had did what I needed to do, and I'm beating the game of life. I went to college. After that, I got my master's. I had a good paying job. I had a house. I had a family. I had a car. We had 2 cars and I was winning, but I won't go into it now. If you want that story, I'm sure it's in another podcast, but I'm probably going to do that one on video next. But essentially, I had my first ever panic attack due to what was going on around the time of COVID and how it was handled at the company I was in. Needless to say, they weren't handling it at all. Not to my liking anyways. And just that and getting shot down for a position that position was tailor made for me. And I'm grateful that I did not get that position, because I would not be where I am today. I still might be living in North Carolina, but I would not be where I'm at as a person today. And just having all these things line up like boom, 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 three in a row, four in a row of just disappointment, and then just pulling back and looking, I'm like, okay, I know my skill set. I know what I offer to this team, and I know what I'm capable of. But there are people in my life that are telling me, no, that you're not capable of that. You're not able to do the things that you're requesting from us. We don't believe in you. And that shook me to my core. That shattered what I thought of me as a person. It shattered who I thought I was supposed to be in this world. And it just shattered me to a reality. I'm like, hold on. I believe this stuff. And if you can't see it, why am I relying my entire livelihood on your thoughts, on your decision? And I was like, nah, I can't rock with that. And even in the position, I had come up with a myriad of ways of saving money, better use of technology, but that was not my job. My job was to keep status quo, keep the boat afloat, and do as you're told. And that never has worked well for me. But I guess, again, the combination of COVID and people showing their true colors just snapped me into my new reality. And I was like, oh yeah, we gotta, the norm is not for me. This normal way of moving through life is not for me. So then I got to thinking, why do people stay in the norm? I think social belonging, like being a part of a group, is a real human need, and going against the grain can feel like exile. And because of the combination of the things that happened to me in my life, specifically moving around every 3 years because my pops was in the military, social belonging is not high on my list of needs that I need as a human. I do have social belonging, and I enjoy the people that I rock with. But at the end of the day, I know I don't need it. And I think uncoupling that thought of needing a social belonging and not having it meaning something bad, me being able to deconstruct that has saved me so many years of heartache, so many years of doing something that I didn't want to do. And just knowing that what I want out of life is up to me, and is also up to me to go get it, changed my thought process forever. Some people stay in the norms because that's what they learned through childhood, and they didn't have that moment of awakening. You get good grades, get a stable job, don't rock the boat, don't stand outside the crowd. Don't be the one that's standing up in the crowd, because if you're the center of attention, you're causing trouble and bad things will happen, quote unquote. Another reason why people like to stay in the norm is we tend to confuse stability with safety. They're not the same thing. You could be in a stable relationship and have a shitty partner that's doing ungodly things to you. That's not safety. I was in a stable job for the most part. I could have rode that out and did the bare minimum, and nobody would have been the wiser. Like, I could have got away with that for years. But the safety of my soul, and not to get too grandiose, but yeah, the safety of my soul was not intact. Like, I did not feel safe in that space. I did not feel like I was thriving. I felt like I was atrophying. Is that the word I'm thinking? Like, you don't use your bones to atrophy? Yeah. I felt like I was just stuck. And I knew I was meant for greater. I knew I wanted to do greater, but I felt like I couldn't get out. And that panic attack, I didn't even know my body was able to do that. Now that I know what a panic attack is and how they come across, everything is mental. And my body was trying to keep me safe, but that shit scared the hell out of me. Another reason why people like to stay in the norm is because the people closest to you can be the loudest voices keeping you in line. And I know you know who I'm talking about, like your parents, your loved ones, your siblings, some of your best friends. They're not doing this out of malice. They're not doing this because they don't like you, but because your change threatens their comfort. You're doing something that's outside the norm, and they're like, "Hold on, what about this? Don't do this." They start freaking out, and so they're like, "Nah, man, you don't want to do that. There's too many podcasts out there. There's too many people making content. There's too many YouTube channels." That's just their fear. And that's with a lot of things. A lot of things that people tell you not to do, see, most time it's coming from a place of fear for themselves. And once you understand that, it makes navigating some of these conversations a whole lot easier. One of the last reasons I came up with people trying to adhere to the norm was stay in the norm. And by all means, this is not a exhaustive list. This isn't me thinking while I was like cooking dinner or walking around the park or outside or just chilling on the couch. These are just thoughts that popped in my head. I jotted them down. That last one is survivalship bias. And what that means is we see the wins, but not the quiet struggles with people who try. Like, we always see the people who are the CEOs or the ones making bank at so and so company, and that becomes their identity. But you don't see the people who hate their job, who are mentally turned off. They go to their job, do their job like a fucking robot, and then go home or a totally different person. I feel like that's not normal. Let me get that right. It is normal. That is not the way it needs to be. It doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to live life that way. And I think another one that I would add in here, I think people who think outside the box, the people who see other people thinking outside the box, see them as risky, see them as not grateful for the position they've been given, see them as someone who's trying to buck the system and go against the grain, and not see it as them living out who they want to be. I know it's ingrained in us early that the pipeline is school, college, job, kids, house. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's usually the pipeline. And because we see it in everything we watch, everything we listen to, we think that normal is the only way to do it. And it is, I promise you, it's not. There's so many different options for you to live, and they're all up to you. Like, what did you decide you want to do? You can make it work. You can make it work. So one of the biggest reasons why I I excluded myself from that normal sense of pace of life or the cost of playing it safe. One of them is unfulfilled potential doesn't announce itself loudly. It just shows up as low grade frustrations and those what if questions. I hate asking myself what if. I don't ask myself what if. If I have an idea and it's feasible, and if I have the support of my loved ones and I can do it, then I'm going for it. Playing it safe also is a risky endeavor. We just don't call it risk. If you have an amazing idea and you don't go after it, like let's say you had an invention that you wanted to create that could potentially make you a millionaire, you're going to play it safe because you're like, I've never done this before. I don't want to screw anything. I have a good thing here. That is a risk of you not fulfilling your dreams. And I can't get down with that. Like, there are certain things that like people think, oh, if I don't have a job, I'm going to be homeless. Like, it doesn't go that quickly. And don't get me wrong, it can, but I think people need to play out those what ifs in reality just a little bit more. Like, don't go whole hog and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm selling my house. I'm selling my car and I'm investing in this business to make a new type of fork. That's probably not smart, but you can move towards it without automatically shutting it down because it seems risky. Like, I think the thing that really shook me to my core is like at the time I was making good money. And to me, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you can still be spiritually broke at the same time. Like, you have all the money in the world, but if you're not using that money to take trips, or when you're on trips, all you can think about is how much you hate your job, then what's the point of having that money? Like, I know some people who have far less money than I do, who are probably the most happiest people that I ever come across. Money, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud because I used to not believe it, but money does not bring you happiness. If your mindset is not right, if your mental is not in a good space, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're going to do dumb shit with it. Or you're not going to do anything with it at all. You're just going to look at all of the risk that comes with having that much money. Or you're going to look at all the negative sides of having all that money. Because mentally, you are not all there. Mentally, you're not as well as you could be. So the question isn't, what if I fail? That's the question we always ask. This risk assessment we do with everything in our life, I think it's unnecessary. The question you should be asking yourself is, what if I never try and I'm 65 looking back? How are you going to feel then? Like, that's not going to be me, because almost everything that pops into my head that I want to try, I attempted. And again, I'm going to shout out my wife. Thank you for being there and allowing me to chase my dreams and move towards what I know I was put on this earth for. I need to say this more to her out loud. I say it often, but I need to do it more because, again, she is a big fuel to the drive that I have to get what I want to get done or accomplish here on earth. And I appreciate her beyond words. So this life is not about blowing your life up because that's crazy. Don't do that. Be smart. But it is about getting honest with yourself. Like, ask yourself serious questions and come up with real answers. Don't just regurgitate some shit you heard in a fucking blog post or some shit your third grade teacher told you or some shit your mom told you your entire life. Analyze the thoughts are in your head, analyze the strong beliefs that you have, and at the very least, ask yourself, do you still believe in them? Where did this belief come from? Oh, it came from church. Do I actually believe in this? No, I actually don't. There was too much hypocrisy in church. Nah, I don't believe that shit. Start looking for what an alternative looks like and see what that feels like. You don't have to move towards it. You don't have to act on it, but give yourself the gift of actually broadening your horizon, opening your perspective to different perspectives that you might have never even heard of, just to see what that feels like. I promise you, it can only do better than it can harm. And if it doesn't fit, you be like, all right, nope, this is not it. I'm going to stick this route that I got and keep it moving. You can't fix what you don't move towards or what you don't face. If a problem arises or a problem shows up, you can fix it. I believe in you. I believe in me. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why we're 142-ish episodes into this podcast, because I know that one day, like, the people listening to the podcast are getting great benefits. But there's going to be somebody whose life can be ultimately changed by a few words that I said, even if it's one person, well worth it. It feels good for me to talk about the topics I'm talking about. That's why I do it. It feels good to me to know that my words can change somebody's life. That's why I do it. So I appreciate y'all listening. I think I'm going to spin off a second episode. I know we only did about 18, 19 minutes, but I got to edit this thing and I got other things to do, like drink Arizona iced tea. If you don't know, go to my TikTok page at Kryptonite with an I, not an O, and you go indulge. You know what I'm saying? But next episode, we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to make that move. And I will have more notes by then because I love thinking. Thinking thoughts makes me happy. Other than that, I appreciate y'all for listening. If you heard anything during this episode that can benefit other content creators or benefited you, share the podcast. Share it with your favorite content creators. Share it with your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. As long as they're cool with cursing and me randomly sometimes talking shit about religion, we should be in good business. Also, leave a review on the podcast. I would appreciate it. It does wonders for the show. It broadens my reach. And, it feels good. Even if it doesn't happen, I'm not like sitting over here like, oh my God, nobody did a review. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just giving you the opportunity to, express your joy and admiration for the show. So you're welcome. Other than that, I appreciate y'all for listening. And as always, protect your mental, keep creating content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.